Welcome to the Performance Enhancing Podcast. It's like steroids for your brain. A podcast for people that want the best info, but just don't have the time. Get your podcast fix with the Cliff Notes versions of your favorite podcasts. No fluff, just the actionable golden nuggets. Having this much knowledge at your fingertips should be downright illegal. So get ready for another dose of Performance Enhancing Podcast with Satori Prime. Here's your host, Ilan Ferdman.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Performance Enhancing Podcast with your host, Ilan Ferdman. And for today, I went back to a tried and tested podcast, which I listen to regularly. And again, was just reminded of why I actually created Performance Enhancing Podcast. So I listened to episode 176 of I Love Marketing with Stephenson. And it made me realize, because it was also a I Love Marketing episode with Gary Vaynerchuk, that had me realize that while I Love Marketing is fantastic, I mean, hands down, one of the best podcasts out there if you're in the marketing space, because there are an immense amount of golden nuggets in every single one of them. However, they're wrapped in an hour and 10-minute long podcast. And literally, I'm going to try to boil down what I took from 110 minutes in about 15 minutes for you today and really give it to you in the nuts and bolts version, because those guys do like to talk and rant quite a bit. Nothing wrong with ranting. You know me. I love a good rant, but just to get to the point, I'll try to keep this short and simple. So Stephenson is a public speaker. He gets paid tens of thousands of dollars for every time he speaks on stage. He also happens to be in a wheelchair and has been, I think, since birth. I wasn't really clear. But they're setting up the whole thing that they were going to talk about marketing, and the whole thing ended up being personal development, which, you know, I love. So it was quite funny. And I found that actually Guy and I have very, very, very similar outlook on life as Stephenson. In fact, he said certain lines that I've said on interviews and even my podcast, almost word for word. So it was a little bit creepy, but at the same time, pretty amazing to know that other people are out there kind of, you know, sticking that flag in the world of worlds and pushing people to become better people. So the first thing they actually started with is haters, you know, criticism. And Sean, just like Joe Polish and Dean Jackson, are public figures as we are getting to that point as well. And by public figure, I mean someone that, you know, people can see on YouTube or online, or, you know, when you walk out, someone might recognize you, etc. And eventually, the bigger you get, there's always going to be haters, right? Now, Sean's mission in life is actually to help people get rid of their insecurities. And when people hate, it generally comes from their insecurities. In fact, Sean said something really smart. He said, none of these people would ever say what they want to say to your face. In fact, they would always write you a letter, an email, or something along those lines, but they'll never be bold enough to actually say that to your face because of their insecurities. So Joe had said that he had asked Bill Clinton this question at the Google Zeitgeist event. And obviously, we all know that Bill Clinton has his share of haters, obviously. And Bill Clinton simply said, you know, kind of following Don Miguel Ruiz's book, The 4 Laws of Agreements, and talking about how when people criticize you, it is not a personal attack. It's generally from something in their own being, right? They're projecting some insecurity, like Sean was saying, on themselves. So I want to give you my take on that in a second, but I thought what Sean said next was actually really smart, and then we'll go back to my take on this. So Sean was actually obsessed with haters, obsessed with criticism. In fact, he tried to chase people down that wrote these letters to get them on the phone, and said that he was almost 100% of the time unsuccessful because, again, these people want to hide behind these judgments. They don't ever really want to contribute. So he asked himself 3 questions, which I thought were really, really smart in how to take criticism, right? And there's kind of like 3 tiers, if you will. So the first question he asked himself is, does this person know me? And more importantly, do I know this person? So if this person knows me, obviously, you know, because we're on YouTube, for example, there's tons of people that know me, but I don't know them. So if I don't know them, then chances are I'm not going to take that criticism with that much weight. Okay. But if I do know them, now I'm going to take it to a different part of me, right? Level 2, do I care about this person and do I respect this person? And if the answer to those are both yes, then obviously then that criticism I'm going to take it much more seriously. And then the third tier is, do I trust their guidance? Once you get to those 3 levels, you can kind of assess the level to which you're going to take in that criticism and actually work with it. Okay. Now, I just want to go back for a second, because having hate mail or, people say horrible things to you on Facebook or in emails or when you leave the stage or whatever it is just going to be part of the game. There's no way that out of a room of 1,000 people that you're going to get 1,000 people to like and love you. That is impossible. And if you do, you are doing something horribly wrong. Okay? Because you're not being the authentic version of you. There's no way that everyone in the world is going to respect and like the way that you approach life. We all have our own set of opinions. We all have our own set of beliefs. And when someone meets you or interacts with you, basically what's happening is your set of beliefs is meeting their set of beliefs, right? Now, if the 2 set of beliefs don't line up, guess what? It doesn't matter how amazing or kind or beautiful or whatever you think you are just not going to mesh. Now, the more work you've done on yourself, right? Like, I'm at the space in my life where I can just let someone have their opinion without me having to fight for it, right? I don't have to jump down their throat and throw my agenda and my beliefs and all that stuff, because I'm clear they are just my beliefs. And you know what has gotten me to that point is the fact that if you look 5-10 years ago, I guarantee you had a different set of beliefs that you were 100% certain that is the way the world is. And yet 5-10 years went by. And if I said to you, do you still believe that? You're like, nah, not so much, right? So just like that, consider that every belief, no matter how grounded it is for you, and no matter how substantial it feels, can be swayed. Right? And so when you know that, and you know that people are just coming, my belief, your belief, et cetera, let's see how this goes, then you should already know that there's no way that you're going to please everyone, right? And you're not trying to. I've said this before and I'll say it again. All you're looking to do is impact 1,000 people and you can have your 7-figure business. Hopefully you want to impact many, many more, right? My brother and I mission is by 2020 to impact 100 million people. So do I know how the fuck that's going to happen? No, I have no clue, but that's the mission, right? Do I know that I'm going to ruffle a few feathers along the way? Fuck yeah, I hope I do. If I'm not, I don't think I'm pushing the envelope hard enough, right? So if you're going to be this vanilla character, then guess what? People aren't even going to love you, but they're also not going to hate you. They're just going to be like, okay, he takes up space, right? Do you just want to take up space or do you want to make moves? So knowing that, then you can get out of your head about having to please everyone. At the end of the day, who gives a shit if certain people don't like you? Guess what? They're not in your tribe. They're not people that you're going to move. And then I had a conversation at dinner, which kind of played off of this theme, which is, a dear friend of mine whose mission in life is also similar to mine, to like wake people up to their potential. And he's struggling with the fact that he's coaching people and really helping them, showing them an amazing, amazing platform. And only 5% of them are actually doing anything. And the other 95 talk a big game, but don't actually do anything. And I said, look, you have X amount of energy in your tank. Okay. I learned this lesson a long time ago. You want to expend your energy where it is going to make the biggest and most profound difference. We tend to want to help people that are, and I hate to say this, as fucked up as we perceived our child self to be. So if you came from a poor home, you're going to seek out people who remind you of your struggles, and you will make it your mission to try to help them. So also think about dating. Like I know for a guy, we tend to want to be with women that we believe that we can help in some sort of issue that we feel comfortable helping them in, right? But those tend to be not great relationships because the one person isn't really pushing you. It's just like you pick this relationship for it to be convenient. So because of that, you don't have time to mess with the haters at all. It should be like water off a duck. You can, again, go through this process, this 3-step process, which I really like that Sean divulged, which is, do I know the person? Do I care and trust this person? And do I care and respect this person? And do I trust their guidance? Once you get that down, then you know whether or not it's worth your time. Otherwise, just keep pursuing your message and know that along the way, if you're not getting haters, you're not playing big enough. That should be the only thing that you care about. Okay? So hopefully that gives you a little bit of my opinion on that. Now, Sean said something else that I thought was really, really smart. And it's something that Guy and I take really to heart. And if you know us, hopefully you can hear a bit of us in this. Or I should say the opposite of this. He's saying that entrepreneurs rarely share their struggles because they're just trying to put their best face forward, right? So like income's always got to be going up and business always got to be going up and I'm doing amazing and business is amazing. And yet we all know that that's not the case, right? Life is never this like, woo, right? It's this up, down roller coaster. Everything is going every single way, right? So it's almost inauthentic. No, it's not almost. It is inauthentic. And we know that to be inauthentic when someone's like, oh, my life is always hunky-dory, right? Because it's not. It's bullshit. You're human. I know you're dealing with shit. And so what Guy and I always try to do, and hopefully, I mean, even on these podcasts, you've heard it, I think on the beer talk that we just did, we try to share our struggles with you and we try to share our failures with you. And we do it from a standpoint of, not to like, oh, poor me, victim, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, look, here's the shit we dealt with. And here's the lessons that we are learning from it or have learned from it, right? So that you can kind of garner through our experience something that you can palatably take into your life and grow from that. Now, I'm not saying that you're not going to experience that on your own, but hopefully when you do experience it, instead of like sitting down and going like, oh God, my life sucks, why me? You're like, maybe Guy and Ilan's voice will be in your head. And you'll be like, you know what? There's a lesson for me here. What is the thing that I need to learn? And maybe it's something that we already learned, So don't be afraid to share the bad. Don't be afraid to share the struggle, because in that world is where people will find affinity towards you. The most vulnerable people are the ones that you tend to gravitate to most. And Sean said a brilliant line. I've never heard it before, so hopefully it resonates with you as much as it did with me. But he said, by resisting telling people the truth about something that you're really kind of trying to hide almost, by resisting telling people, what you in fact do is you amplify the effect of that lie on you and your life. And just look in your own life. I mean, as soon as he said it, I was like, damn, that is very, very true. Because what tends to happen is the hiding, the resisting makes that event, that thing so much bigger. Then your brain takes over, the voice inside your head, it knows how to make things incredibly massive. And instead of just sharing and being like, look, here's how my business is fledgling, can you help me? You start trying to negotiate and navigate and make it seem like it's not. And all the while, things in your business will get worse and worse and worse till eventually you're going to have to say it anyway. And so just think about that. If there's anything that you have resisted saying to someone because you are ashamed, you think they won't love you, you think they won't trust you, you think blah, 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 whatever you think, just know that always saying the truth or like sharing how it is will set you free. It will you are looking for an answer from the depths of which you created. You're like sitting in sewage trying to come up with answer. by actually sharing where you are in your life and where you are struggling right now, you will literally take yourself out of that sewage. Now, I'm not saying that that solves the issue, but you will at least be at street level with way better smells and clear sight to see what to do next. And that's very, very important. Okay. Next thing Sean said that I thought was really smart, and this is where he kind of, went on this little rant, which is exactly what kind of I've been saying for years, which is money in business is not the end all be all. That's not the measure of success and should never be the measure of success because, as I've said before, how many people give up their health, their family, their relationships, all for the sake of money. And then they look around and they're like, well, I'm fucking miserable. I have millions of dollars, but I'm fucking miserable because they gave up everything. Success, wealth, whatever you want to call it, is having it all. That means sound mind, healthy body, incredible relationships, intimate and familial and friends, having an amazing network of people around you. Those are the people, regardless of how much money in their bank accounts, those are the ones that are in fact wealthy, in my opinion. And so if you're going to bed hugging a pillow at night, miserable because no one's in your bed with you that you care about, I should say, then guess what? You're out of balance. No amount of money in the world or success that you're building in your business is going to make a difference. It's just not. If your health is down the fucking tubes and you're popping a whole bunch of pills to try to feel good only to support your business, what are you doing? You're killing yourself to make $1. That's insane, right? It's got to be a more holistic approach. And Sean's a big proponent in this, as we in Satori Prime. I think they all line up. I think it's very difficult to sustain a profitable, successful business without having all those other pieces in place. All right. And then they kind of switched gears and started going down the marketing train, but it didn't actually end up in any sort of real marketing. But Joe was talking about how people hate, back to the kind of criticism, how people hate on marketing and advertising. And he was saying something really funny that, someone sleeps on a mattress that was advertised to them, with duvet covers that was advertised to them, wake up, shave with a shaver that was advertised to them, with a toothpaste and toothbrush that was advertised to them, put on their advertised to clothing, drive their advertised to car to their workplace, but decide to do no advertising for their work. Then realize, oh shit, my business is fledgling, so I need to sell it. So I'm going to advertise to sell it. And he's like, are you kidding me? Because they hate marketing and advertising, right? But look, that's the way the world operates. So he said this cool line, which I never heard before. He said, what people aren't up on, they're down on, which I thought was pretty clever. But marketing is an amazing skill set. For Joe, for example, he said just because he went into marketing, that opened his eyes to go into the whole personal development world because he realized that marketing, all it is really applied psychology. And in order to understand how humans behave, right, you need to go learn that because that's what you're going to use then for effective marketing, to get into the brain of a human being. And so that opened his eyes to that. And because of that, marketing, he's thankful for having all this amazing personal development training. More than that, you were talking before about, going to bed alone and unhappy. Well, if you know marketing, then guess what? You can present yourself, or sales, you can present yourself in a much better way in dating situations, which obviously would help you solve that problem, right? Another kind of extreme thing that he said was, if a relative needs a kidney transplant and you need to raise money and you need to get up high on this kidney transplant list, well, if you know how to write sales copy, then you can actually write kind of like a sales letter for raising money and helping your cousin or uncle, whatever it might be, right? So all these skill sets, because it's more human psychology based versus just marketing, as people like to hate on, then there's a lot of value in that. And I thought that was really, really smart. It's like, how many problems can we solve just by knowing a few of these marketing skills? And we'll end it with this line, which I also thought was amazing. Sales are the oxygen of any company, okay? And marketing are the lungs. So as long as the lungs are breathing, you got oxygen, right? If the lungs stop breathing, no oxygen, no sales, death, right? So again, wrap this up in about 15 minutes, plus or minus. It was a great episode. It was just a little long-winded, as some of them tend to be. But again, amazing, amazing gems in there as always. So thank you, Dean and Joe, and in this particular case, Sean. All right, so we'll see you on the next Performance Enhancing Podcast. And again, would love for you guys to head over to iTunes, share this with people that you love and care about. And if it's made a difference in your life, I'm sure you can find 3 to 5 friends that it will make a difference in theirs. Just trying to get the word out. And again, we have a goal of hitting 100 million people. So anything you can do to help, we would be humbled and honored. Thank you, and love you guys, and we'll talk real soon. Have an amazing, amazing day.
Thank you for joining us on this week's Performance Enhancing Podcast. We've taken this pep talk and created a custom action guide so you know exactly what action steps to take now to grow your business. Just head over to satoriprime.com/podcast and download it for free. Also, please leave a comment and rate this podcast on iTunes. It'll help us get the word out. Thanks for listening. Now, go and implement. We'll see you next time.